Another Wednesday means another batch of horror comics at your local comic book shop. Here's what's new this week in comics horror, September 6th, 2023. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. Let's check out this week in comics horror, September 6th, 2023. This weekend:
ass, titties, ass and titties, ass, titties, titties, ass and titties.
Features only one book, Van Helsing, The Horror Beneath, by my good buddy Pat Shand, who pits the descendant of Van Helsing against Dr. Julie Jekyll, who has a tendency to turn into a monster when provoked. Zenescope always has strong stories, and they've always had cheesecakey covers, but it seems the company has been leaning away from the booby covers these days. But still, I can't help myself.
Ass, titties, titties, ass and titties.
This week in indie horror proves once again outside of the mainstream is always the best place to find quality horror. A comic called SANITY, Rise of the Occult debuts this week from a company called Swagglehaus, as a detective is hired to investigate a missing person, leading him headfirst into an underground occult organization. If you're looking for G-rated horror, writer-artist Jay Stevens has got what you need in this wickedly cartoonish series, Dwellings. Rodolfo Santullo and Gioff deliver a story about parallel universes and dream doppelgangers called Reflection from Whatnot Publishing. I don't know if this one's a one-shot or a first issue, but I love that cover. The college sisterhood bands together to track down a serial killer called The Lion in Scout Comics' Banshees. This series has some of the coolest covers around. A survivalist community takes on vampires in Survival, number 5 from Sean Lewis and Bryndon Everett. I'm really digging this gritty series from Dark Horse Comics. This week in horror comic adaptations bring 2 Titanic issues, fleshing out properties that once were movies and now live on in comic book form. Buffy returns for issue 2 of her hot new Boom Studios series, Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer, which reads as if it's a future tale of Buffy's final days slinging the stakes by Casey Gilly and Oriol Roig. And Godzilla emerges from IDW Publishing with Here There Be Dragons, a tale from the distant past pitting a bunch of pirates against the king of kaijus by Frank Tieri and Inaki Miranda. There are 4 books I'm really looking forward to the most this week in comic book horror. I'm really digging the Weapons of Vengeance crossover between Wolverine and Marvel horror icon Ghost Rider, as the Weapon X program are in a race against time to track down a young person with demonic powers before Logan and Johnny Blaze do. Benjamin Percy and Geoff Shaw are delivering the goods, and it all ends here in this week's Omega issue. Next, cryptids seem to be the new flavor of the week, as Ahoy Comics offers up Project Cryptid number 1 with stories by Grant Morrison, Paul Cornell, and Mark Russell, focusing on your favorite cryptids like the Mongolian Deathworm and the Yeti. And if that's not enough exotic monster action, Zach Thompson and Valeria Berzo suit up for the hunt for the Skinwalker from Boom Studios. I cannot wait to see this book adaptation of Colm Kelleher and George Knapp's book about the Skinwalker Ranch, which has been the site of mysterious phenomena and sheer horror for ages. Finally, Ed Piskor has another issue of his grotesque story of an underground horror website called Red Room, Crypto Killas number 4. This comic depicts unspeakable acts of torture on real victims for profit online. It's not a book for the faint of heart, but man, it's one of my faves. So those were a dozen horror comics on the shelves this week. Surely there's something in there you'd find worth your time and money. Let me know which ones look good to you down in the comments.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be. stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. God live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside